So I challenged my team to 100 days of extreme activity with one objective, and that was to bring in as many customers as we possibly could. And here's what happened. In 100 days, we more than doubled our revenue versus the previous 100 days. And in this episode, what I want to do is I want to break down the actual tangible results of it, what we did, how we did it, and how we tracked it every single step of the way. So if we rewind a little bit, it's beginning of September 2023, and I'm on this 2-week RV trip with my wife and my in-laws. And every 2 years, my wife and I, we take 2 weeks every 2 years to go be in the wilderness somewhere. And this is the moment in time when I generally get like super introspective and reflective over my life and our business. And I have a gajillion ideas because I'm kind of off the grid and I have all this time to write and plan and a ton of thinking time. And if it's a road trip, I have a bunch of dashboard time of driving to really think. And so we're on this trip, and I remember I'm in Rocky Mountain National Park in Estes Park, and we're sitting outside the RV one morning, and I'm drinking coffee, and it's like 6:30 in the morning. The sun's coming up over the mountains, and this idea popped in my head. What if I challenged our team to 100 days of extreme activity to try to grow the business as fast as we possibly could? I know it's a common thought that a lot of us have, but mine hit me at that moment in time. And so I get back from this trip, and I'm like jotting down, what are we gonna do? We need 100 days of high degrees of activity that will lead to as many new customers as possible. And so we believe at the Ecommerce Alley, we say a lot of times, like, hey, we gotta get our reps in, right? Volume negates luck. And so if we wanna be lucky, you could just be lucky, or you could do a boatload of volume and get your reps in and get better at it as you go. You're gonna fail faster. You're gonna figure out what works quicker. And if I could get all of our team in the company on that same boat of, hey, let's do tons of volume, let's fail fast, let's move forward, let's do a lot of iteration and optimize the business in all these different ways, what would happen? Well, here's what we did. We committed for 100 days. And by the way, this is 100 business days, not 100 actual days, because to get my team to actually commit to the numbers and the activities on Saturdays and Sundays and holidays, that's not cool. So this actually excludes holidays and it excludes weekends. With all that said, we committed to 100 days. And let me tell you what happened. 100 business days prior, so 100 days prior to this challenge that I issued to my team, to 100 days after, here's what happened. Massive shifts in activity with the entire goal, every single person's role tied back to new customer acquisition and driving it in some capacity and working like this symphony to build this new customer acquisition machine and really refine it. And here's what happened. 2 major numbers to keep in mind. Our revenue in the second 100 days was 212% higher than in the first 100 days. And our profit, and this is the more important number, our profit in the second 100 days was 562% more than the previous 100 days. Now, revenue was over double and profit was almost 6 times what it was in the previous. Now, why was that? Well, it's because we were staying focused and we were not staying fat or getting fat. And it's very easy as a business when things are going well, which in all signs right here, things were going well. Our revenue is like doubling as we're going. And it didn't start like that. We had to do a lot of things and it started kicking in about a month and a half, 2 months in. But we were able to do it because we stayed focused and not fat. It's easy to get fat when things are going well. It's easy to come out of a really busy season and be like, oh, we're sitting on all this cash. Our revenue is picking up. Let's go higher and buy all these things and start doing all this extra stuff that we never did just because we're sitting in a cash position. I call it the chaos junkie issue, like a problem. We're all internally these chaos junkies. We're always used to things going wrong. And so when things go right, we like to make them go wrong. And we like to hire and do all these expenses and buy things that we don't necessarily need. And so in that time, I told our team, when we're doing this, we are not hiring. We're going to challenge ourselves. Can we do this without hiring, without being rampant in our expenses in other degrees? And we were able to do that. Now, we did have to hire in the process because we couldn't sustain it. We needed help. And I'll talk about that in a moment. But we stayed focused, not fat. And also, the reason we were able to grow the profit more than the revenue was because I had a very big emphasis on optimizing our customer acquisition costs. So we wanted to say, hey, how do we acquire customers, but acquire them for a lot less so we have a lot more profit built in? And then the other component of that was how do we increase retention and reduce churn in customers? Now, side note, you do not have to be a subscription box or a membership-based company to have to worry about churn. Your customers naturally churn over time. They might churn after one purchase. You might have a history of customers that come in and they buy one time and they never buy again. Guess what? You're churning those customers when you could be getting them to make their second or their third or their fourth purchase. So this kind of speaks to the lifetime value side of it. How do we make our customers worth more over time? And so we had this two-pronged approach. Lowering and making efficient lowering new customer acquisition costs and making it more efficient and optimizing that so we have more profit built in, and then also improving retention and lifetime value. And we kind of attacked those as a team. We kind of divided and attacked accordingly. And so let me give you an example. So one thing we were able to do to lower our new customer acquisition costs was we decided to move to a two-step checkout form on our sales page, which basically it made potential customers have to, before just filling out, we used to have like a one form where they would just fill out on the sales page and they would buy the product. Well, we went to a two-step form where they actually had to fill out their name, their email, and their phone number, and then hit next. And then that would basically allow us to cart abandon them with very little information. They didn't have to give us like their shipping and their billing and their social security and their birthday and all this stuff. It was like, no, just give us your name, your email, and your phone number. And then you hit next, and then you insert all the other stuff. So we're able to do that. And then what happened was we found that if we shot a simple text to those people that abandoned, and we just said, hey, John, saw you were looking to check out, but you didn't. Hey, we have a deal running right now. I'd be happy to send you a coupon code if you want. We would sign off as somebody from our team, and it felt very personalized. So the first text was automated, and then when they replied yes, they basically raised their hand and said, yes, I do want a discount. I do want a coupon code for what I was looking at, and then we manually would send that. So we'd manually send that, and here's what happened. We were able to, and we did the same thing for our upsell. So we have upsells in our process, and if someone doesn't take the upsell, we do the same thing. We basically say, hey, sorry you didn't grab the upsell. We're running a deal on it right now. If you want it, we'll offer it to you, and we'll give you a coupon code. Well, we were able to recover 9.3% more customers, and from the buying the product on the front end, and then we were able to recover 28.9% of people that did not take the upsell. So for the same level of ad spend. That's an example of how we're able to really focus in on the optimization. So what did we do? Well, for these 100 days, the focus was to maximize new customer acquisition and profit through extreme activity. And in doing so, here's what I wanted to happen. I wanted our team to have 100% control over whether they achieved their extreme activity metric per day or not. And so let me walk. I want to read off a couple examples of what this looked like. And just so you know, I called this the 100 days of 100. And it was a 100-day challenge where everybody got a 100 number. And I want to read off a couple examples of what that looked like. So I have to commit to 100 minutes of marketing content per day. This is new customer acquisition-based content. This is not internal content. This is new customer-facing content, whether that's emails or marketing scripts or social media posts or live streams or writing ad copy or filming ad copy, something that had to do with marketing. So I was responsible for 100 minutes per day of marketing content. Kelsey was responsible for 100 minutes per day of improving the client experience to reduce retention. Dylan was accountable for 100 minutes per day of optimizing ads and podcasts and social media. Chris was responsible for 100 minutes per day of doing conversion rate and conversion revenue optimization on every single step of our entire marketing funnel. The sales team had to commit to 100 reach outs per day in order to, and there were a couple things that counted as what reach outs are. Now, we obviously have a sales team, so that's a little bit different. But one thing you notice here is everybody had full control over their number. I had control over whether I spent 100 minutes on marketing content or not. Sales team had 100% control if they did 100 reach outs per day or not. And so that was what it looked like. We had this high degree of activity. So it was 100 days of 100 is what we called it. And then what would happen is I purchased $5 desk timers for every single person on the team that needed a time. So I had a time counter. So I literally had a clock that I would press as I'm working on stuff and I would stop it. And it was basically a stopwatch that would sit on your desk and it would accumulate time. And then at the end of the day, I would go in and I would write in the number of minutes that I did. For sales team, we had the tally counter, the little clickers that they would just, every time they did not reach, they'd hit a click, they'd hit a click, they'd hit a click. And then at the end of the day, everybody had to add in their numbers into a daily spreadsheet that we all got together every day. And you had to enter your numbers of what your numbers were, and then you had to bullet out your notes of like, hey, here's what I did, just a short little rundown. And then Monday through Friday, we had a 15-minute huddle to start every single day. We started every day, we hopped in, we said, okay, how many new customers did we get yesterday? How many minutes did we get, or how many reach outs? Did we hit our numbers? And then everyone gave a 60-second update on their 100 days of 100 numbers. And so here's what I have observed in doing this entire process. And if you haven't done this, I encourage you to try this. Maybe you're just settling for like okay stuff and you're like really spread thin, you're doing a million different things. Maybe you just need to get hyper focused on the activities that create the highest leverage for you. And so here's what I observed in doing that, is that in doing the volume exposed weakness really fast in our process. By having eyes on every step of the funnel, on our marketing, on all of those things that I just mentioned that we were all accountable for, it forced us to do a degree of volume that exposed all of these holes inside of those different areas. And then another thing that we learned was that the number 100 actually became pretty arbitrary. And what I thought was when I started, I liked it because it was catchy. And I was like, 100 days of, we're doing 100 days of 100. 100 days of 100 activities. And even halfway through, I ended up throwing in $100 bonuses per week for everybody that hit their numbers every week. So we started having fun with it. We started doing bonuses. The team all kind of came together. And then what we learned in all of it was that the 100 number that we were hitting, the 100 minutes became pretty arbitrary. We learned what worked and what didn't. Like, so for example, some of those numbers had to change. We found for me, it was pretty easy for me to hit 100 minutes per day of creating content because that's what I do. I do it all the time. It's very natural. We create a lot of content here. So 100 minutes a day, I could check the box without even a timer every single day. And so we had to bump my number to actually 200. But on the other side, the sales team having 100 reach outs per person was really hard to do. So we actually had to pull that number back down. And so in doing all of this, there's some things that happened. And the first thing was the volume exposed the weakness inside our business very quickly, and it forced us to go and improve those areas of our business, to optimize them and refine them. Now, this was not, if you think about it, 100 days is not 100 regular days. This is 100 business days. So this is 20 weeks. So we were doing this for 20 weeks, 5 days a week, 20 weeks, right? So we did this for 20 weeks. And in doing that, we consistently refined everything. And we got to the point where halfway through, we were growing so fast that we actually had to hire on an additional person, another team member halfway through because we were growing. And I resisted it and I resisted it and I resisted it. And then of course we got to the point where we're like, okay, we do need help here because we can't even keep up with the volume of things that is actually happening. And in doing so, that actually the last like 30 days just skyrocket, like hockey sticked, because we ended up pulling the trigger on that. And so ultimately this unified our team tremendously. And even after we finished the 100 days of 100, we have continued daily habits. There are things that have carried over. But it does look slightly different. We're actually doing 6-week intervals instead of 100 days now, but ultimately created this habit inside our business that every day, the act of getting together, having this daily accountability, having these what are called leading KPIs, or key performance indicators, leading KPIs, things that you can control. So leading KPI is like 100 minutes. You can control if you invest 100 minutes in your marketing per day. And it's easy because that could be between research, between implementation, between coordinating with contractors, with vendors and UGC people and creators, whoever that might be. 100 minutes per day is 100 minutes. It doesn't matter if you're in learning mode today, you're in implementation, you're in ad management mode, or you're creating emails, right? 100 minutes is 100 minutes. So we made sure that everything was fully trackable and fully in our control. And in doing that, we just unified our team. We had this big mission we're pushing to really grow. And in doing that, we were able to grow our revenue 212% and our profit 562% in only 100 days. And we had never experienced that degree of growth ever. In 10 years, have we never experienced that rate of growth until I came back from that RV trip and I had this epiphany. I'm like, we're doing this, and we did it, and the whole team loved it. We've had a lot of growth, and it's been really, really awesome. So I wanted to share this because it's something that we did internally. And if you're listening and you want a very difficult challenge, then ask yourself, what's the activity that I control, that I can do every day for the next 100 days or 50 days or X amount of days in order to accomplish the goal that I have? If you need a lot of new customers, you might need to say, hey, I need to pull on this marketing lever really, really hard. And I need to spend 100 minutes per day between learning and implementing all the most impactful things inside of my business that are marketing focused, so that I always have an hour, that's an hour and 40 minutes. An hour and 40 minutes a day is going into my marketing. I'm going to this hyper volume of activity mode, so that way it negates luck. Luck's not involved here. The volume speaks for itself and produces the results, so you can fail fast, optimize, reiterate, and go to the next level. So this challenge worked for us, form these new habits. We've now integrated it into our company culture. And yeah, I hope you try it. If you do, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go to Instagram, and I want you to follow @JoshCoffey, COFFY. Go ahead and follow me on Instagram and shoot me a DM. Let me know you're listening to the podcast. And if you're embarking on the 100 days of 100 or whatever you want to call it, if you're embarking on it, please let me know. I'd love to follow along and see how it impacts your business. So thank you for listening to this podcast episode, and I will see you in the next episode.